Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. 5, 10,
Deadlights Pod.
Welcome to the Deadlights Podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm your other host, Leslie, bringing you your weekly dose of horror.
Hee. Nailed it. Nailed it.
Nailed it?
Nailed it. Hooked it?
I hooked it?
Hooked, line, and sinker? Sorry, really stretching with this
Yes,
transition
we are.
over here.
Why is that?
Well, because our villain today had a hook for a hand.
Yeah, he hooks everything.
He hooks everything. And his name is Candyman.
Candyman. We said it twice. We can't say it.
We have 3 more in this episode. That's it. From 1992, directed and written by Bernard Rose, The Candyman, a murderous soul with a hook for a hand, is accidentally summoned to reality by a skeptic grad student researching the monster's myth. Oopsie.
So now we only have 2 times where we can say his name.
Yeah, it's true. We are not going to be able to make this quota.
Yeah, no.
We are
He's gonna
screwed.
appear. It may be our most watched episode.
I mean, that'd be a pretty good guess to have.
That'd be great.
First-hand account or first hook account. He's gonna get me for that one.
Yes.
I'm screwed.
We're canceled.
All right, Candyman. One to go. Candyman is a very classic, obviously.
That's it. We're dead.
We're dead. Very classic horror movie. Pretty big, I would say, within the horror movie canon. Candyman is one that comes up pretty often. Had you ever seen this before?
No.
Never seen this one before?
Never seen it before. And I didn't know about it until when did they release the second one? Like 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, maybe 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So recently. And yeah, and then I think you were the one that told me about it.
Makes sense. Makes sense because I really do like this movie. I think the first time I watched this original one was the week that we moved into this space that we occupy now, which was 3 years ago at this point. And I remember it because boxes were everywhere, but we had like taken out a projector that we could hook up to a computer. Hook up to a projector so we could just like watch movies or whatever, because we also didn't have internet either, so that's all we were really doing. So yeah, it was just like set up on a box, and just amongst these bunches of boxes I watched Candyman for the first time, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and it's another one of these kind of movies that didn't really know what to expect going in, but there's so much hype around it. But it also turned out to be not what I expected it to be.
It definitely was not. I thought that it was going to be more senseless when it came to the violence. But it was very beautiful in a way. I mean, you didn't see the act of violence. You saw the aftermath. So that in itself is a lot to... really sink that in. But the way they displayed her, how about let's just jump into it? I'm already talking.
Yeah, we're going for it. Let's get into the can.
Hey, cheers. Very beautiful gal, and I think she looked even better with all the highlights and the shadows casted on her specifically, and that is how you know her story arc from the beginning. She is the one that has all the shadows, all the light, all the beautiful patterns created. And although she herself is like, the actress plays her so soft, very much like the lady from The Birds, but she is gun honing. She is in it. She is doing all the work that she needs to in order for her to have a compelling, thesis paper, because she's graduating.
Helen. is the grad student that we're talking about. I completely agree. I love how they shoot her in this movie, and it was funny because this is the first time, obviously, watching this movie with this like criteria that we have. So I was looking for within the can, like the aesthetic, like how they're shooting it. At the beginning, I was like really struggling to like find anything that was like aesthetically different. I was like, everything just kind of looks like plain Jane. And then as the movie went on and as Helen got more into the investigation and into this urban legend, that's when the filmmaking started to open up into more surrealist and dreamlike. And we have like what you're talking about with more colors, soft lighting on her face. She was getting hypnotized and brought in by the Candyman. And so the film started to bring us in, and that's really when the cinematography started to turn really, really cool and beautiful.
All you have left is my desire for you.
The last thing, which it was like right at the beginning, the intro, and then throughout the movie, we have these aerial shots, which I think are really great because it's tying back to the city, you know, because yes, this is a horror movie about a, you know, folklorian tale killing people, but it has a lot to do with the place that it takes place in, which is Chicago. And I think we should get to the meat because it's a meaty film.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of things that are going on, and I think we should start with what you already kind of set up, which is this comment on society of what's going on, class, specifically in Chicago. We're dealing with a low-income housing project building called Cabrini Green, which was real in Chicago, and they actually shot it in Cabrini Green, in Chicago, before they tore it down.
Just to let you know, we're in Chicago.
In Chicago, and we also are in Chicago. And so it very much is going back to, you know, we're shoving people into an area, the people that are on the fringes of society. We're shoving them into places, and we see the results of that in this movie. You know, we see Cabrini Green, and it's like, it's the first time in the film where things aesthetically really turn, because it feels like we're in a different world when they step into that building. But that was real. That
is real.
Yeah.
And
people were living there.
Yeah. And the thing is, this isn't the only place that this happens in. Every city has a location in which a building that is no longer being funded into are then occupied by people who are just left out on their own to fend for themselves. And then you have a lot of crime that happens because no one is doing anything about it. And when something does happen, we have someone like fucking Helen, who is a white savior. And she is made to be like shown and played like Jesus Christ.
I mean,
the depiction of the painting at the end, her sacrifice, you know.
Yikes.
And she is one in which is murdered and is now becoming a martyr because, you know, like, it isn't her fault as well.
Now bringing it back to a horror movie, what evil do we create when we push people and shove people into a building like Cabrini Green? And it can kind of make sense that is where the urban legend of Candyman is born, because like it's a center of all this oppression and all this hate.
But also there is people that can go through each other's walls and do whatever fucking they want.
Yeah.
And no one is doing anything about it. They have no exterior help.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are like, well, whatever happens in there, as long as it doesn't come out. You know?
As long as it doesn't come out and we don't see it. And that's the whole thing of like,
Yeah.
we'll keep pushing it away and covering it up, which I think it was great that they added this detail of Helen and her husband living in a building that was essentially gentrified, because they're trying to cover it up. They're trying to put a layer of paint over all the shit that has gone on in the past.
That's a good one.
And it's going to seep through the walls no matter what.
Shoving people in one location is what this whole country is established on.
Yeah.
It's just erasing a lot of what was here before and doing whatever the fuck you want with it.
Just build on top of it.
As long as we don't see anyone that we don't want to see, then that's fine by me.
Yeah. Fucked up.
It's a very political movie.
It's a very political movie.
And I enjoyed it.
Yes, I think it toes this line of talking about these things without really even talking about them. Because they never said any of this stuff directly. It was just these characters going through these spaces.
Implied.
And it was very much implied and not shoved in our face, which I loved.
Be my victim.
I wanted to get to the other big point of this film, which is a lot about toxic relationships. Very toxic relationships.
Yes.
And Helen gets pulled into a toxic relationship without her even realizing it. And she's in a toxic relationship with her without her even realizing it at the beginning of the film, which I kind of like that. And I mean, because Candyman himself, what he's trying to do is get stronger by feeding on blood, the spilling the blood. So essentially people will fear him and he'll get,
Powerful.
even more powerful from the fear. But his tactics of pulling her in are extremely reminiscent of a toxic relationship between the isolating her from her friends and her family, gaslighting her, and then ultimately stripping her of everything that she has to make him be the only thing that she has left. And he is the only person or thing essentially that she can go to. So he is like the ultimate like bad boyfriend. And
that is the kind of relationship that I saw, that he is hypnotizing her, quote unquote. And then she then wakes up to find herself in a really it's further than uncomfortable.
I mean,
it's like
he's framing her.
Traumatizing her. Yeah.
That's how he's isolating her and gaslighting her to the most extreme by framing her for the murders that he's committing. And so so of course her friends and her boyfriend and her colleagues are going to push her away.
Yeah, because she is a threat to society, and they don't know if they can trust her. What I found really interesting about the social dynamics of this film is that she has a best friend who is also black. They both go to the Candyman's lair.
Candyland.
And Bernadette doesn't quite talk. She only talks to Helen when she wants to tell her maybe we should leave. But what I find is that the people living in that space, would not allow anybody like that to come in. Like, Helen made herself look like a cop because she's like, oh, they're afraid of us. No, homegirl. No.
Yeesh. I don't think you're safe there no matter what.
No.
Yeah.
You don't step in there.
You're a woman, period.
Period.
You're done. Yeah.
And also, no one would want to give you information. And they would rather talk to Bernadette as opposed to Helen. So that, to me, the way that Helen was able to get through and talk to people was very too fantastical.
Yes.
And maybe that was just like her lore of just like her character is this like easygoing kind of character, but because of what we're talking about, the subject matters that we're talking about, their skin color is important.
Yeah.
And we see Helen kept up when she needs to be kept up, and then disheveled when she is absolutely, quote unquote, looking like a mental patient.
Yeah. Well, not quote unquote, because she was a mental patient later in the movie.
Remove the quotes.
Remove the quotes. No quotes.
No quotes.
Get those air quotes out of here. But I absolutely agree with you. I think it's an extremely important point, and I think that it really goes to the cook of this film, because I did write down that question, and you brought it up while we were watching it. Why isn't Bernadette the main character of this film? You know, it almost would make more sense.
Yeah.
Because she inherently would be able to navigate these spaces and be able to interact with these people seemingly easier than Helen would.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're watching a movie from the early 90s that they're probably not going to make a black person the main character of their film. So we're probably dealing with the fact of studio pressures and society. I mean, I don't even know if it was in the mind of this filmmaker to even make that choice. But I agree. I think it would have been a stronger choice if the main character was actually Bernadette.
I think if this movie was made now, Helen would for sure be a black woman.
I mean, we see in the new Candyman, all the characters. Yeah, all the characters are black. The main character for sure is.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
So we have a direct remake, requel, or whatever they're calling it, that shows that fact. Yeah, it just makes much more sense, because I know that that is a criticism of this film that you hear, is that we have this white savior thing going on. Helen, why is she the one who's being able to go in and save everyone from Candyman?
Yeah. And who knows if it was made with a black woman in mind from the get-go, and then the studios just were like, I think it would be played better. You know, we need to make ourselves look good.
Yeah.
But also, it could also just be trying to really, like, maybe that is what's really heavy-handed, is the racism that everybody endures. In this particular group of people, they are resentful, they're afraid, and they don't trust a white person. So why the fuck would they want to talk to Helen?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But in a way it does. You know, there's two conversations going on.
Yep. That point definitely is one that I come back to with like every watch that of like, you know, that point of the story and of the film seems like the weakest part to me. I do like how this movie kind of, like The Silence of the Lambs, kind of starts off as like an investigation kind of movie.
Yeah.
You know, we're starting off with this legend of Candyman, and let's go find the people that know about Candyman. Let's get the clues. Let's go from these spaces, and that makes the story driving. And I think that that's great. That it's a great device because it inherently is making the audience play along with the film and with the character, which is awesome. I really like that. And then this movie has a cool thing with, you know, before we even know it, we're in this like cerebral, surreal crazy kind of fantastical place, and I think they transition that very well.
Yeah. There's so many like storyline, excuse me, not storylines, but just callbacks, inspirations that I saw. Her going through the medicine cabinet in the bathroom reminded me so much of Alice in Wonderland, where she's like, instead of going somewhere where it's gonna like help her discover that she needs to grow up, she's going to die.
It's a rabbit hole, and that was the first time she went through that cabinet. Then she turned around and looked at her friend. And she said, "I'll be okay." That was the first time we saw that hypnosis fucking eye shot.
That's
So we
great.
knew she just went down the rabbit hole.
Yep. Oh, there's no going back for her. You know. Then we have the professor husband
Trevor.
who looks like a nerd, but then he's also dressed in pleather kind of like jackets from the 90s, and he's like meant to be like ugh, I don't care. I think his acting was the weakest
For sure.
in my opinion. Just because I think he was trying so hard not to be trying to be someone he's not. I don't know. In my opinion, the casting for that was not great.
Yeah, and I feel like for him too, like, he wasn't in it a lot. It's funny because, like, he's an important character for Helen's story, but he's not that important of a character for us to see physically. So, yeah, it's like they kind of, like, honed in that. Or they kind of, like, phoned in his casting.
We have to have a downfall to our main character, Helen, because we are also discussing between the supernatural and science. At first, she is very analytical, very type A, of just being like, there is not an urban legend. There is literally someone out there just killing people. And then, no, she is in the core of it all.
Oh, shit. No, this is real.
This is real.
Yes.
And she can't get anyone else to believe in her. So then we're just like in discussion then of just like science versus just like supernatural. And I forgot why I was saying this.
I mean, she goes from, like, trying to figure out, like, science to supernatural to survival, Like, at the end, she's just like, I have nothing else to live for, essentially.
Yeah. Of like the husband, that is why we had him there, because we needed to see our character fight through, and for everyone else to have a motive as to why she's going out and murdering people, when in reality is the Candyman putting her in those situations.
Yes.
Hit the microphone again.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone was just like, oh, it kind of makes sense now. It kind of makes sense. He was able to use that against her. Well, let's get to him. Let's talk about the thrill. Let's talk about the Candyman a little bit, because he's obviously our villain running around this film, and he is like an urban legend, which is kind of cool. He is the only reason that he exists is because people talk about it.
Have you ever heard of Candyman?
No.
Well, his right hand is sawn off. He has a hook jammed in the bloody stump. And if you look in the mirror and you say his name 5 times, he'll appear behind you, breathing down your neck.
He lives based off people's fear about him. And I think that that's a very fun place to start with a film, because we all know stories like that, of like Bloody Mary, and like it's an easy thing for someone to leave that film and then go into the bathroom and like try it themselves. So it kind of like lives on.
There's Beetlejuice, there's Bloody Mary. There are chants in which you can go and either you believe or you don't.
Mm-hmm. One of her professors says, urban legends are the unconscious fears of society, and and she later talks about the fact that he is just the personification of the people that live in Cabrini Green's fears. Mm-hmm. It's easier to blame an urban legend for all the evil that's going on around you than it is like an actual person or your government or whatever is causing it. So like we kind of already talked before, he is the result of people being put in desperate situations, and he's birthed out of the negativity that is within these places, essentially.
It's a vengeful villain, mm-hmm. Because the people that are being hurt are the people that believe in him, and mm-hmm. the people that believe in him are the people that are experiencing what our Candyman has been going through.
Yeah.
So it's everyone in the exterior, and then it's brought back to them, mm-hmm. in which they, as a community, grieve the potential death of a child, of a baby. And it was our white savior that comes in and starts fussing things up. Mm-hmm. And then she's the one that brings the baby back and is the hero.
Yeah, she got the baby. She did it.
And then everybody shows up for her
funeral.
Her funeral.
Yeah.
Which I see how one would show up for that.
Yeah.
But then her coming back with the hook.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the thrill, I was having fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
I was like, ooh, creepy.
Yeah, the hook kills were pretty good.
And, chanting his name 5 times makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. It's a ridiculous number of the times that I want to say someone's name.
It's one for every finger that you lost.
Well, you can't say it once, because then everyone would die.
Can't even. Ah!
You can't say it twice, because that's
That's
not a lot.
Yeah, because what if you say it once by accident, and then the next time you say it...
Dead.
Yeah.
And then 3 is Beetlejuice. So
right.
You can't say that. 4 is just about where you want, but...
It's this close.
Everybody kept stopping at 4.
True.
And then looking at themselves and being like prepping themselves. And then they said the 5th one.
True.
So...
4 is like the prep one.
Yeah.
It's like it's the diving board.
So that's why you go for 5. Because you're just like, all right. Candyman.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Now I understand. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think too, important point about Candyman is that the creation of Candyman too, his origin story is he was a painter that was commissioned by a rich family, and then he was supposed to paint the daughter, and then of course him and the daughter fell in love, and then the father was like, "You son of a bitch, I'm gonna kill you," and then he cut off his hand, and then they covered him in
fucking hook,
put a hook on it, and they covered him in bees, and then he died from the bee stings. So literally, I mean, we've talked about this so many times on this podcast before, of reaping what you sow, so he was created from an act of hate. Therefore, he comes back and continues the hate, and mm-hmm. continues the fear, and continues the death.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
We love these legends. We love these legends. Mm-hmm. No matter how horrible they are, we are so intrigued. And we try to be bigger than them and be like, yeah, that wouldn't happen to me. But you just never know.
You never know. You never
Just
know.
don't say Candyman 5 times.
Don't do it. We've already done it.
We've already done it.
We've already
like
done it.
10 times.
Yeah, and you see the result. All right, let's get to the ride.
Let's do it.
Let's get to the ride. And I kind of already talked about before, this. I think that this movie functions very well because it does function as a investigative kind of movie where we're learning more things and uncovering clues. And that makes it engaging to watch for sure, because you're like, ooh, where's the next place she's going to go? Who's the next person she's going to talk to?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it did a very good job of keeping my attention in that way. And then without me even realizing it, we're at this place where we're at a total like supernatural place. So I think that they did a good job of transitioning into that.
Yeah.
For sure.
It did give out very much like the Zodiac kind of vibe, Seven, and all the early 90s kind of investigative kind of horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say kind one more time.
Kind of.
Because I said kind like a lot. But anywho, yeah, I want to say a lot of the 90s love that kind of investigative, let's figure out who's the murderer kind of thing. But then it kind of got its own voice towards the end with the supernaturalness of it. And yeah, who knows? Who knows if it's real or not? That's the thing about urban legends.
Who knows?
So,
we'll never know.
I was intrigued to add to that.
I
intrigued.
was wanting to run to the bathroom and say Candyman 5 times.
Oh my god,
so
yeah. I definitely did go to the bathroom. And I
Yeah.
did say Candyman 5 times.
Yeah.
So we might just, after this episode, we're definitely gonna get...
We're screwed.
Oh, no.
We're effed. All right, Candyman.
Candyman, one thing I do want to ask you. How useful of a weapon is a hook?
I mean, based off how he used it, caused pretty good damage and pretty visual damage as well. Because, he did the whole, like, groin to fucking neck move, which... Woo!
You have to be real close to someone in order to do that.
Pretty personal.
Very personal.
Pretty personal. Yeah, so definitely, like, if you're trying to make it display, he did that for sure.
And why didn't she die with all the bees? Like, they had a bee kiss.
They did have a bee kiss. Maybe it's because he can, like, command all the bees. Like, don't sting her.
But they're inside of her, right? Like, what was the purpose of them?
Well, they're inside of him. I don't know about her. They're, like, on her. I don't know. She was so knocked out of it.
Yeah.
She's going, Candyman.
Bees, honey.
I want to taste your honey.
Days of honey.
Anyway, Candyman.
Anyways.
Let's get to these Smash Pumpkin.
Let's do it.
Let's rate this motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
Do you have a number? Do you want me to go?
I think I do.
I think I do. All right.
But you go first. Because I think
okay.
I went first last time.
Okay, cool. I'll go. Like I said before, this is another one of my faves. Season 2 is really handing over a lot of classic ones, a lot of really good ones. So it's harder and harder to rate these and not give them 5s. But I really do enjoy this movie a lot. I think that this movie kind of stands alone in its aesthetic. I think while also, pulling a lot of things that we really like about horror movies. So it kind of, stands alone in the way of it's very well shot, very pretty movie. It's still kind of scary. Candyman is a terrifying being. And also, like, I remember when I watched this the first time, I remember thinking, this is one of the most social commentary horror movies I've ever seen. So I think it really, really drives home what it's trying to talk about, and it gives us a lot to talk about for sure. And so I am going to give it a 4.5. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Yeah.
Nice.
Out of 5.
Out of 5.
Out of 5.
Out of no, I don't have a pun. Well, I was gonna give it a 4.
Cool.
Because I really enjoyed the coloration. I love the lighting. I love the script. I love all the like political and social commentary, and you know, it's still happening today. So, and then also we're here in Chicago, so it's quite endearing.
Yeah.
To see something that really we can physically see it.
It's literally close to home.
It was right here.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it, and this person also really liked horror films, so you can see the many kind of like inspirations coming across. And yeah, it was quite enjoyable. I thought it was gonna be okay. It was slightly more than okay, in my opinion.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, and I forgot to mention actually that this movie was based off of a book called The Forbidden, I believe. And that book was written by Clive Barker, who directed and wrote Hellraiser, who we reviewed earlier this season.
Well, I was gonna mention Hellraiser and one of the styles.
It kind of does give off that vibe for sure. So the original story, the Forbidden, I think was set in the UK because Clive Barker is from the UK.
He's British.
He's British.
What?
Sorry.
Sorry.
But they Bernard Rose then converted it to being set in Chicago, which I thought was a awesome
Look at
choice.
That. There's these things happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And more so here in Chicago.
Yes. Yes. Cool. Wow,
Nice.
Candyman. Glad we got to review
Candyman.
it. That was fun.
I'm happy to have seen this movie.
Yeah, we're getting some good ones. All right, what's on docket for next week? I believe it's me, right?
Yes, it is you.
All right.
What do you think?
what
Do you
I-
have any? Do you have any?
I want to pull one that we can actually watch this time because last time I pulled one, it was the movie that I couldn't find. So I'm hoping we can actually watch this one.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be from the 80s.
Cool. I like that prediction.
Ooh, shit.
Here we go. I'm not looking at the title.
No looky.
Here we go. A radio host interrupts the possible outbreak of a deadly virus which infects the small Ontario town he is stationed in. Canadian, huh?
Canadian.
Canadian, eh?
Canada, eh? I don't know it.
We are watching Pontypool from
Pontypool.
2008. Yes, I have heard of this film.
Pontypool.
Haven't caught it yet, so this will be fun.
Ooh.
We didn't get the 80s, but we got 2008.
2008.
Yeah.
That was 15 years ago.
This close.
15 whole years ago.
Holy mother of mother.
Mhm.
Holy mother.
Holy mother.
Cool. All right, well, we'll see you next week for Pontypool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
It's Canada, not Sweden.
Oopsie. Bacon. You can bacon.
We have a number.
We do have a number.
We have a number you can call 773-669-6677. Give us a call. We want to hear what your thoughts are.
Please, any stories, supernatural that you have, because I love listening to those.
Any.
So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Color Me Leslie.
And me at BPBridgET and us at the Deadlights Pod.
Yeah.
Also, check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we're recording this from. But until next time, let's careful. Spooky. Candyman.
Candyman.
I just got hooked.